So welcome to our presentation. We're very excited to announce our new our new project, which is BugBuster, your best friend in your coding journey. So today it's me, Fred, Haniel remotely, and Gaspar talking. And we will talk today about those 6 topics. So first, introduction and a short demonstration of BugBuster. Then the technical details by Haniel, and lessons learned and future work by Gaspar. And then we have a Q&A. So let's get started. So as most of you are developers, you know the struggle of bugs. We all, maybe not all, but most of us probably don't like bugs. And so when facing this issue, we thought, we can make this better. So we came up with our solution, which is to easily monitor, manage, and prioritize your JavaScript anomalies. And so our approach is twofold. So the first thing that we did is we have an automated anomalies detection. So which is basically this package, so this npm package. So you can see, you can just download it, install it, and import it in your project, and just simply use it with a project ID. You can see we already have 580 downloads. I don't know how many human beings were involved in this, but it's great nonetheless. So that's the first thing that we did. And the second thing we did, which we will show you now with the demonstration, is the front end. So to have a simple, user-friendly interface. Yeah. So now you can see here BugBuster. So this is the welcoming login screen. You can sign up or log in. So let's log in. So now here we have 2 test projects that we set up. You can, for example, change colors if you want. But yeah, this is just one thing. But basically what you can do here is when you go hover over the setup, you see, again, very simple what you need to do to set it up in your project. And so mainly with us, we just need to copy the ID. So we can just click here on copy project ID and implement it here in a sample. So here we just put in the project ID with the ID, of course, and now we just run it. We have here one error, and we just run it, and now you can see. Oops! Now you can see we have here the error. So it was catched. It was found. So when we click on it, you can see exactly what broke, what in the code was breaking. And you can see here also the occurrence below here. So this is one occurrence we had so far at this specific time. And you can also see the runtime, operating system, here below, everything like that. What we can do as well is when we run it again, we will have a second occurrence. So we just run it again. Yeah. And now when we reload, you can see now we have 2 occurrences that happened. What we can do here at the top is you can say, okay, the status, it's not resolved yet, or let's put it on resolved, for example. And we can say the priority was, for example, high, urgent, or whatever. And you can also see that in the activity tab who worked on it, on what they changed. Yeah. So if you go back, we also have here the notification. That's very new. Yeah. So you can see what kind of notifications we have. And last thing is you can filter everything, for example, with resolved. So we have a resolved one, you can filter it. Yeah. Exactly. So now let's go back to the home. And now you can see here the docs. So we have also documentation. So you can just get started easily. You see exactly, okay, all the things that you need to do to download BugBuster, how to install it, and so on and so on. It's just a nice to have. All right, so let's continue. So now over to Gaspar with challenges.
So during the project, we faced many difficulties, many challenges during the process. One of the primary ones was organization, which we eventually solved through putting what tasks we had done on the linear. So, for example, we had problems where a certain team member was doing a task at the same time another team member was. So that's something that we solved through organization with daily things in every morning, where we could see what every person is doing, what task is each team member is doing at a certain time, and the progress from the prior day. Another challenge we faced is especially in the planning stage, which is prioritization, which is essentially prioritizing which feature is the most important for the user, and hence we should work on it to be to have the best user experience and most efficient way to plan in the beginning. And the last one is consistency, which is, for example, having different conventions among the team members used in the commit messages, as well as in the reviews on Git. So lastly, another challenge that we faced, which is in the technical aspect, which is the bugs in BugBuster, no pun intended, but we faced quite a few issues in this aspect where the classics where something might work locally but not remotely, and this was a great opportunity to use all the concepts that we learned through the junior part and see them implemented, and it forced us to see how we should solve these concepts that we learn in the junior part. And now it's Haniel's turn, so he'll take over with how we made the app work.
Great, so here we have the service wireframe, which is basically how the entire application is structured. Starting at the top, we have the database, which is where we store data generated throughout the app. And coming out to the middle, we have the backend, which is basically the bridge between the reporter, the front end, and the backend, the front end and the database. At the bottom right, we have the reporter, which is installed in users' apps. That's what they use to capture errors, which are sent to the database through the backend. And then we have the developer panel, the front end, which we just showed. It's how users, which is the developers, they can easily monitor and prioritize issues that come up in the app. And then on the left, we see GitHub Actions, which we haven't implemented yet, but they're supposed to automate things for an easier deployment experience. Moving on to the stack we used. Yeah, we have used Postgres as database. That's the one that looks like an elephant. Then we have Prisma, which is the ORM. ORM is used to communicate with the database easier. We use TypeScript on both the front end and the back end. On the front end, we use TypeScript with React, and on the back end, we use TypeScript with Node. As for the reporter, we bundle that up using CSOP for easy access for users. Yeah, so now Gaspar will take over and tell us what we learned.
So in this project, we learn many different things. One of the main things is how important planning is in a coding project. And we saw that in the very beginning, where it wasn't entirely clear what each person would have to do, and that would delay each task that we would split into a certain team member who had to code a certain feature. So that's how important planning is, and if we had been more descriptive in our instructions, we would have been able to possibly apply better features and more quickly. We also learned how important it is to be user-centric and always think about the features from the perspective of the user and what this will add to their experience in our app. So, and lastly, communication, and this could take very different forms. One very important one is, for instance, the communication between the different programmers by the code that they have wrote themselves, which should be self-explanatory and be the easiest to read as possible. And we also learn how important it is to be proactive in our communications and ask whenever we have the ever so slightly doubt about the task that we have to do or other team members are doing. And about the future work and how our app might look in the future. We never know what the future holds, obviously, but we are implementing at the moment email notifications where you would get notifications when a new issue occurs in a certain project. And we are currently trying to make it open source, so other developers could add certain features to their liking. Yep. On to the Q&A. Well, this is the end of our presentation. If you guys have any more questions, we want to pass it to you. And if you want to know anything about our app in particular.
So when you were starting, most likely you had like some expectations of difficulty, of how difficult this project was going to be. So far, how accurate you thought that prediction was?
So from my side, maybe Gaspar can also answer, and Haniel. From my side, I thought it would be more difficult. So, yeah. From the technical aspect, I thought it would be more difficult.
On my end, it's hard to tell because I was stepping into a service that I've essentially never used prior and didn't even know prior to this project, which is Sentry related. So it was a bit of a black box, like you like to say. I wasn't quite sure how difficult it was going to be. I was sure that I did not know how to apply the changes in the project to make it Sentry-like. So I was a bit unsure. I think I thought initially it was something that seemed very hard to do, and it was. That's why we needed your help quite a lot. So yeah, I think it was fairly, it was pretty much as I expected.
Same with me. I expected it to be just as difficult as it was, which is not super difficult, but difficult enough to gain stuff.
By the way, really nice presentation, PowerPoint. Visually, it looked really cool. My question is, knowing what you know now and what you've learned, would you change anything or use any different technologies?
At the end of the day, I think expectation management is really important. And so if we, so in the beginning was unclear on a lot of things. There were a lot of unknowns, like how would you structure it? How would you do, like the user stories were not clear or many things like that. And so what I would do is probably take a bit more time in the beginning to just align everyone on what is exactly expected and what we also expect from a teamwork. That, hey, it's important to raise your voice. It's important to say when something is not going well or if something confuses you or just those kind of things. I think most important takeaway here is that product manager is important, that software engineers cannot do it. And the second thing is, or they can if they want, but the second thing is also that teamwork is extremely important, and especially in remote teams, it's even more important. And so, because you don't know how the other person feels or thinks, and so that's why to clearly communicate is essential.
Pretty much on the same line on my end. In terms of organization, specific things I would focus a lot more on being as the most descriptive as possible in terms of instructions that every team member would take. In our case, we had quite a big problem during the planning phase, which Fred was unavailable during that time. So we had to start the project and then give him the information necessary. So in terms of technical things that we would change, I'm not quite sure, but in terms of organization, not using, I think it would be a library, library.
Yeah, it's
a framework. Yeah, for authentication, and setting a very clear goal and reminding everyone of the weekly goal, and even setting more team meetups daily. I think if we had done that from the beginning, it would have been like a lot more clearer, and we would have been able to communicate a lot better, I believe.
Well, I agree with everything that regarding organization. Regarding technology, I would not use certain stuff that we're currently using for authentication, for instance. So the front end, using nodeJs instead of what we're currently using, something called Transtack Router. I would not use Transtack Router anymore. But yeah, that's basically what I would change, technically speaking.
Craig asks why that is.
Okay, so managing users on the client-based router is difficult. You're moving all the work to the back end, which is not a bad thing in itself, but it's not very easy on the front end. So like know when a person has logged out. Like for instance, you could manually clear a cookie in the browser. How do you know it's been cleared? You have to make a call to the backend. When do you make that call? Do you make it like in terms of the client side routing? The stage at which you check when a user is currently logged in is not very clear. So even now, I'm not sure if the way we're doing it is the correct way. But when using something like nodeJs, you make that call in the server before the page is rendered. So it's just easier to know when certain things are happening.
I have several questions, so feel free to respond each one. Avoid responding everybody to the same question. Like you can round robin a little bit, and you can distribute the questions. The first one is like it's related, mostly is related to the insights, right? So they were like quite generic bullet points, which is fine because of the time of the presentation was okay. But now I would like to know more about these insights, like to get like a little bit more details. One was like you had, no pun intended, you had bugs, right? So it was actually, exactly this one and the previous one. Yeah. So how to make, do you have any specific insights on how to mitigate these bugs? Like specific examples, and it's like, we could have prevented this thing if we have done whatever. Whoever feels more confident about it.
We had a problem back in the beginning where code would work for Haniel. I think it was related to the bundler as well, Refraf, where so it would work fine for Haniel, initially the project. I think it was because of something related to either the compiler and the bundler, where, for instance, me and Fred would have to, every time we opened the project or we changed a branch, we'd have to reload the BS code, and we would have to run, I believe, reset Prisma every time. No, but we would have to, I believe, yeah.
I think to come back to your future webinar, I think so we often had sometimes local differences. So what Haniel had and what I had, or what Gaspar had, there were differences. And so I think if we just used, for example, Docker, we could have mitigated that issue. So I think that's definitely something that would be an easy fix. Regarding other bugs, it's mostly being with reviews, like really taking the time to understand and really questioning and challenge the code that you read, and not just accept it. And and of course, for example, my technical abilities or Gaspar's not as good as Haniel, so just it's just a fact.
I think partly it goes back a bit to the planning, because as far as
Follow-up question then. Follow-up question. Then how how to mitigate the problem on planning?
Again, I think it goes back to communication and looking as much information as possible in case in the tech stack that we had planned, in case something would possibly not be compatible. I think that's the main thing, and really weighing the possible pros and cons as much as possible of choosing a certain library like TanStack instead of Next.js. I think that's, in my opinion.
No, I was asking how to mitigate. You had problems of planning, right? So planning problems, and then that affected the problem, the development of the project. And then going back to the technology seems to me like it's too much specific of an insight, no? Instead of, we have planning problems. So planning is above technology, right? So if you can give one single tip to the juniors for the next, for when they are doing the senior project, the group project, on one thing to do for them not to avoid these kind of major planning problems, what would it be?
Set up very specific goals, both daily and weekly, as well as a certain time frame where you would comment the progress each day. I think that was one of the main changes that allowed us to work better and communicate better.
I think you probably already know from the juniors that you might have different levels of understanding, like you're stronger in certain fields and the others are stronger in something else. I think in planning is extremely important. We struggled at first with starting or with prioritizing because it was not aligned, because not everybody understood 100% what is this user story, what are we going to do with this user story, and why is it valuable. So that you are very clear and that you feel you can speak up if you don't understand. If you can just say, hey, I don't get it. Can you explain it to me in simple terms? So just make it simple, dumb it down, make it as easy to understand and as easy to grasp, so that you can, when you prioritize or when you go in your daily stand-ups, that you can immediately see, okay, I'm going to do this, and exactly these steps I'm going to do. So that there's no black box involved. So avoid black boxes. That's basically what I'm saying in planning, in how to make it work.
I think you said it all in regards to planning. There's not really much else I can add besides planning. Planning is very important. It's important to make sure that you understand what exactly they're trying to achieve. Yeah, that's basically it. All has been said.
Okay. So I'm going to skip one, not to annoy everybody. So you mentioned as insights, be more user-centric. Can you give? No, you said it, huh? Well, insights, yeah, lesson learned. Yeah. Okay. So can you give like an example? What does it mean, or how to be user-centric? Maybe on an experience of yours, an experience of this project where you weren't that user-centric and then you were user-centric, into like landed into specifics.
So, for example, when I thought about a certain feature to add, I wouldn't think as much as I do now as how it could be perceived by a person that is first entering the app. For example, we were thinking for quite a bit how to show notifications in a notification alert kind of notification about a new issue or bug that has appeared. And we debated quite a bit about how to show it. And for example, we initially thought about having a tick sign, as in to show that there's no new issues. But for instance, having debates about how this could be confusing because it's not one of the main features, and the alert only popping up when new bugs appear. I think that this debate and thinking it in that way is pretty much a case of us thinking in a more user-centric way for it to be as clear as possible in the first glance.
I think maybe I missed this, but was there a library you guys used for the bug busting, or how are you catching bugs exactly?
I mean, Haniel can show you code if you want.
So I think that is when in regular error handling in JavaScript, if you have a try catch block, in the try catch block you have the try net catch. Within the catch, you have an error that is within scope. Using that error, we just capture the error and then we send it to the service. That's as easy as I can put it without shrinking code.
In a package being imported that the user uses, imports a package that is pretty much the try catch, and then sends it to the database as well as the web panel that would showcase and be more explicit about the bugs and new information and details for the user to understand it better.
What the hell? No, that's not necessary. We have an initial setup that you must do. So anywhere else in your app where you have a try catch block, you can set up, or you can use the BugBuster there to capture the error. So you don't have to wrap your entire app in a try catch block. You just have to use it where you have a try catch block.
Ruben asks what happens with errors that are outside the try catch scope.
Yeah, so we have a way to capture unhandled exceptions, but that's kind of buggy currently because we can't find the exact lines where the code, the exact lines where that particular error was thrown. So it works, but as for showing the code context where the error was thrown, it doesn't really work well. But yeah, it captures unhandled exceptions and unhandled errors as well.
Right. So yeah, first of all, congratulations. I know that the journey hasn't been easy. Yeah. So congratulations for making it to the end of the project. I hope you are happy to have arrived here. Although there are still things to do, right? And I will say that they're like on the next steps, right? There's one thing that I think is not finished, right? That is the most important thing: deploy it. Yeah. And that's like, because it's halfway there, although like it has been majorly done by Ruben, but then it's like it's your time now without the pressure of having the presentation to say, wait a second, Ruben, what did you do so far? Explain us, no? What's the process? And then let's go there. This is what we can do on the next days. So yeah, congratulations. Actually, I have to say that I was quite impressed by the demo. Seeing all these different features. Yes, that was something that I didn't expect. Like, look, this thing on the, just for setting expectations, okay? It doesn't have to be a very successful project in terms of features, yeah? To be like an insightful project. And in this case, on this project, I was very happy to touch like some points that were some of the most important, right? Sometimes because of the lessons learned that you explicited there, although some of them are my responsibility too, right? As a team, no? Majorly they fall under my responsibility, being like, it doesn't matter that Fred was not there the first days. Actually, we had to put the attention on the planning that we did on week 2, right? But then also, like, you get like a good thing out of that is like you see the difference, right? Between disaster's first week, right, and working, yeah, and balanced, no, week 2 and week 3, and how we were more user-centric, etc. All the insights that I really enjoyed to have there. Specifically about the presentation, because it was very good. It was very well structured, and usually all the feedback that I have, it was like, it's irrelevant here.
just one, and one that you were very, very, very close to that, right? Because I was quite happy to see that. Usually I say, stop showing logos on like a pool of logos there, like about the tech stack. Tech stack, we used all these hyped technologies. Yeah, we mark all the we check all the marks, and then in the slide before, you had what I usually ask for, that is the system diagram. Place the logos, present that thing, and on the next slides, present the logos where they belong. Right? That was not a wireframe. Okay, that was not a wireframe. That was the system diagram. Yes? A wireframe is when you like draw how a UI looks like. Yes? With a thick marker. But in this case, that was the system diagram. Then you put in there like TypeScript. Where? Where is TypeScript? No? Boom. Everywhere. Okay. What do you use? tsap. What's tsap for? Like, does it apply for my project? Not. Tsap goes on the package, on the reporter, right? And it's used so I can publish that in npm, so others can use it with all the compatibility, things that other packages don't do. Yeah, and we have seen it also. Prisma. Yeah, where does it go? Like for me, that thing is important. Logos are irrelevant. Where they belong is where. Wow, okay, that's very good. Like I can learn from that, no? So that was one. The second feedback that I would say, like, there are details, huh? Because as I said, I really like the presentation, and congratulations for that. On the insights, I would like 12 minutes. That was very good timing, yes? But actually you had like 3 minutes more to spare, and maybe you could go like more for details. Like, for example, insights, no? For me are the interesting things. Maybe I'm biased. It's like being more user-centric. Don't wait for the question, no? It's like, for example, and then explain a case in which you think that this applies, right? And one that is like it's straightforward. And I'm going to talk about one of the last ones that I have. Sorry, because I have to, like, it seems like I'm running a sprint, okay? But this is how I'm doing right now in terms of everything. So I'm going to comment on one at the end, like touching into it, like the example on being user-centric, right? You can give an example on being user-centric. It's very easy as a programmer, as a developer, at first, say, I'm going to like implement that with 10 stack router, and I'm going to do GraphQL, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to, and I'm going to go for all the last news that we have on Twitter or every like technology that Fireship has been talked about, and I'm going to add them on the tech stack, right? That's not being user-centric. That's being developer-centric. I want to try these technologies, so I'm going to do it, right? And thinking the features that you have to do from a technological perspective. No, think about what you have to do first. So what is the user going to see? A bell that when you click shows a notification? Only that, it's the thing that makes you already user-centric. And the example that you did is even more a detail about how to be user-centric, right? But there are things that you actually learned along the way. So for all the insights, like try to give your personal, and that's something that I always say, for this kind of presentations, I have a talk next week. Yeah, and it's going to be about empowering, like talent retention through empowering. Yeah, trust and empowering, okay? So I'm going to talk about what are the keys that you have to apply in a team as an engineering manager in order to retain all that talent, right? But it's not going to be a formula. Like I can give a formula, but they don't fucking care about the formula. They care about give me the stories, give me the gossip, yeah? Because through personal experiences is how you like gain the attention and you can create that connection. Oh, I had the problem too, right? So think that these are very, very powerful. Okay, so when talking about insights, that's an insight for the. When talking about insights, talk about gossip. Gossip. Yeah, I was talking to Dad, and then this happened, and then we were mad for 2 days, but then later we realized that blah, 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 blah. Okay, like the gossip helps you make a point. You actually said one reason why you needed Ruben, and that was for the planning. No, why did you say that you needed Ruben? Yeah, technical support. I think that you went full technical. What? Something like that. It's like you went full technical. So just to make my point, on the like you mentioned that's why we needed Ruben, no? And when you were talking about a very specific technical thing, right? And actually, if I take one point why you needed Ruben, or why I asked Ruben to be more engaged with this, it was not actually for adding any kind of clarity on the technical side. Yeah, it was for adding pragmatism from a more senior perspective. It was planning, full planning. It was part of like being the catalyst of the communication and the pragmatism inside the group. Why I'm saying this? Because have it clear for when you are joining these teams and you're working on professional teams. That's usually what we are bleeding from. Everybody knows JavaScript. Everybody knows Prisma. Everybody knows the last tutorial about this technology or that other technology. That's not a technological race. Yeah, it's a professional race. And then value this thing because it's actually the most important one. I don't know how to say I have two. One that I'm going to destroy you, and another one that I'm going to be like very happy with, right? So I don't know. Let's go for the happy. I really, really, really enjoyed when you were talking at different levels. I have to say, Haniel, but when you were talking about insights on planning, yes, I enjoyed your insights because they were actually real, although quite like straightforward. No, plan every week and plan every day. No, it's like try to get like a clear goal. It was specific, and that I liked. Okay, so it's something actionable that I can practice from tomorrow. The other one, you said, be explicit. Don't leave anything for the obvious. Yeah, don't leave anything implicit. Be explicit. So it's not like plan every day. Okay, no. When you're planning, be explicit. Yes, we're going to repeat every. The other day I was receiving a talk, like we were actually in a talk by, fun fact, one guy that wrote the speech for George W. Bush. And that he learned something that was very, now on management, learned something very stupid, but that works a lot in high-level management teams, C-levels, yeah? That he just got the flying license, and one thing that he learned is that when you're given an order on the tower, you have to repeat it. Yes, and if you don't repeat it, if you say, I don't remember now, but it's like Victor Kilo 20 something. Okay, got it. Thank you. The tower is going to say no. Repeat instructions. Yeah, Kilo Victor 20 whatever. Repeat instructions. You have to repeat what I said. If I gave you like landing on this runway, you have to repeat. Cleared for landing on runway 28. And then he started applying it. Yes, for C-levels. Like when it's talking and it's like, okay, let's do this. Yes? Okay, so the culture is now to repeat it. And it's like, okay, all clear. Yes? Not because the other person is stupid. It's because communication is bad. Always, in every environment. And I thought that this is very good. And especially like on this kind of environment, that is like, we have different levels. And in teams too, not only here. Huh? Like I'm saying in this case of scenarios, as in technical teams, of any seniority, it's better to state the obvious, okay, make it explicit. I really loved it. It's like, it's a very good way to put it. So these are the things that I really enjoy, no? And then, to finish, going to come now, so brace yourselves. When creating an application and working 3 weeks on an application that catches bugs, you have to have like a clear answer for how are you catching bugs, right? And it has to be like pristine. Oh, it's like, oh, nice you asking. I'm going to tell you what does it take, because we took like many hours to discover this thing, how to catch bugs. And it's going to be very clear, because there are like 2 different or 3 different ways, and you have to implement all of them when doing something like this. And then even create slides for it, right? Because it's the core of your business. This is the core of what you're doing, right? So it has to be clear. It's like, I didn't add it into the presentation because I didn't have time, but thanks for asking, because I prepared this thing, no? You know, like what I'm saying, like you have to nail it, okay? That's explanation, but you have to fight between you to say, me. I'm going to explain it, no? Because everybody has to be an expert on that. That's it. And lastly, acknowledgements. Yeah, acknowledgements, very important. Thank you, Ruben, for all the support and you're actually part of the team, right? And you're listed here. And thank you, instructors in general, and special thanks to, I don't know, Juno. Look, he's even mad. He even ran away. So thanks, Juno, for having that. That's it, because if not, I'm not going to have enough oxygen for give any other feedback. Congratulations. Okay, you should feel happy about the accomplishment with all the ups and downs. Okay, and take the positive things, take the learnings out from the good things and the bad things, and let's go for the next steps that we have with this.